Okay, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to talk quickly about two different ways of taking like a phrase. So we got a 2-bar pattern, and then maybe you want to not only extend it, but maybe the extension, like doubling it from 2 bars to 4. But maybe you're in a situation where you decide that you want to change some of those parts. So in the second 2 bars. So here's a 2-bar example. It's going to loop, but I want it to go 4 bars, and I might want to use some of the parts that are already in there, but maybe I don't. So let's just go double. You hit the pen marker on the top third, and you hit double length. Now the problem is, at this point, the first 2 bars are this. And as you can see, I got all these other tracks going with different instruments, and maybe in this situation, and it's only a 4-bar phrase, but I want to change some of that stuff and build it, but maybe there's a different chord progression in those second 2 bars. So if it's a different chord progression, you're going to run into issues like this. So let me go get a piano sound, and I'm going to just record over this on the second bar. So I'm going to set the meter, the SPL, excuse me, from 3 to 4. So let's say I want to play in a different key. Well, that's not going to work, right? Because you got to listen to all this other stuff. So in this particular situation, we're going to utilize the pad mute mixer, okay? So there's a dedicated MPC X, there's a dedicated button right here, but you can go into your menu and it's on track mute, okay? Just select that. And so what this is kind of cool is, so let's say I'm going to keep really just the drum track, right? So I'm going to mute everything, and now I'm going to not worry about anything. And when I go to the track I want to re-record, I can just simply unmute it, and now I'm going to hear the drum track, which I do want to hear, and I can play whatever I want in a different key. So now if I go back to bar 1, which has got all the instruments, and then it's going to go to the piano and drums. And you can see the instruments are still there and the data is still there, but you're not hearing it, which is good, because if I hit shift and go to the bass track and I go unmute that, I can now unmute them as I go when I create the next section, which is only going to be 2 bars, but it can be 8 bars, whatever. Oops. Let me just for time purposes, I'm going to take this to bar 3. And you can kind of see how it works. Now, labeling your tracks, as you can see, if I hold down the main button, your actual MIDI tracks show up on the first bank, and if you hit your bank buttons, they're going to show you your other 8 banks if you need to use that many. And so, like, I go to bells, and now unmute that, and I'll just record straight from there, and I'm just recording over. And that way, if I want to go in, and I'll just go into here, I'm going to go pick a track up here, and I'll call this lead. And now if I add a track any point in this sequence, let's see, I'll go pick, it's got to been the sound I've been using a lot lately. It's the sound I've been using a lot lately. So it's thinking MPC. Okay, so I'm gonna go and pick that sound. Okay, so I can actually go back to the beginning. We'll go to 4 bars, and I'm going to just take this back to 1. I didn't like what I played, so I just record over it. Okay, but that is basically an example of using and utilizing the mutes. Now, if I go back to the track mute group, which again, if I go to the menu, track mute right here, you see I got two other tracks that actually have data over it. Now, if you truly don't want those parts in there, you can delete that. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to go, so I'm going to go in here and select that keyboard track, hit erase. And then you're going to go from bar 3 to 5. And I'm just erasing those two bars. And if I hit shift, I can select the track, or I can select it in the erase mode. So if I select that, it's already been selected, but so the guitar, and you know, so if you want to erase that, because you're going to eventually want to unmute that. So now, if I hit the mute button, I will unmute that. And here's it all, everything playing at one time. Now, if you take the same thing, so I'm going to go show you a second way to do this. If I delete, let me just delete the 3 to 4. Okay, so now this might be in a situation where you know you want the drum track, but you don't want anything else. And so in the first example is like you doubled it, but then realized you want to go in a different direction. So we're going to pick the drum track right here. And all I'm going to do is we're going to use the copy feature. So if you go into here, I'm going to copy the events. And I'm going to copy from the drum track in the same sequence here to there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to have the start of the copy, instead of being at 1 where it defaults, I'm going to do it at 3. So watch what happens. I'm going to just replace. So now all of a sudden you have a 4-bar result like in this last example. But when you get to the 3rd bar, you only have the drum track. See how that works? So this would be an example of knowing that you're going to use a particular part, in this case a drum pattern, but you're not going to use other parts. Now there's other ways to do this as well, because people have different workflows. So let me undo this. I could actually, for the sake, let's go back to the drum track. We're going to go copy the events again. And we're going to pick that drum track. So the drum track is right here. Right here, track 9. Okay, so same thing, but I'm going to make several copies because I might want to extend this, have the flexibility of extending it. So we're going to extend it another 7 times. So it's going to be 16 bars long, as you can see right here. So if I go into, let's go into this view right here, and I'm going to go shrink this. You can see this is 16 bars, and if I go up here, you can see the SPL as I move it, it's going to end right here. And this drum beat, or this particular track, is going to go all the way to 16 bars. And that's another way of doing it where it kind of gives you enough leeway to kind of figure out where you want to go. And remember, if you're new to the MPC, you can always go into here and copy the sequence. And I can go into here, the sequence number 2. So sequence 2, actually you could even name it, but at that point where you copy it, but I'll name this, we'll call it version 2. And so essentially you got the almost identical sequences so that you can kind of noodle around with one, and then kind of you could jack it up or make it better or whatever. But then you also can fall back on sequence 2, and don't hesitate to make as many copies as you think you need, because we all got different workflows. So hopefully this, again, for those of you new to the MPC, hope this helps you out. Until next time, peace out.